Hi guys, it's Michelle, and today's video is going to be a super interesting one. I have been hearing things and learning things about the music industry for a very long time. I feel like I've heard so much shit about the music industry. It has to do with a lot of different conspiracy theories. But with recent events with Scooter Braun and Taylor Swift, it got me kind of thinking even more about how fucked the music industry is. I think out of all of Hollywood, it is probably one of the most corrupt and unfair to the actual people who are in it, to the artists and stuff, which is just, it's so insane. There's so much stuff, there's so much tea, and that's what today's video is going to be all about, is just different dark secrets that the music industry would never want you to know. It's just terrifying. So let's get into it. So I'm gonna start by just giving you a rundown about what happened and who Scooter Braun is if you don't know. Obviously most of you guys probably know who Taylor Swift is. Basically, if you don't know, Taylor Swift recently spoke out about Scooter Braun purchasing her masters, which essentially means you're purchasing the music, not necessarily the person Taylor Swift, because she's obviously signed to a different record label. All of her old work was associated with this label that Scooter Braun bought. Buying somebody's masters is actually so much of a bigger deal than it sounds, because it sounds like, oh, well, they're just purchasing all of their old work. Why would that matter? But it really, really does, and we're gonna talk about that in a second. But essentially, Taylor Swift made a post when Taylor Swift was 15 years old. She signed a contract with Big Machine Records. The owner of Big Machine Records was a man named Scott Borchetta. He owned this company until recently. Basically, Taylor, since she has gotten older and learned more about the industry, she's wanted to own her own records. So Scott Borchetta actually offered her a deal where she would be able to stay with the Big Machine Records, but for each album she put out, she would get legal ownership to one of her old albums. However, she had to turn this down because she knew Scott Borchetta would eventually sell Big Machine Records, and she didn't want to sell her future, because selling the past is one thing, but obviously when a record company makes a deal like this and it's to someone that you don't want to own any of your stuff, it would be way, way, way worse if Scooter Braun was now owning the present Taylor Swift. So of course she decided to make the decision to not do this, which was really hard and would suck, because she would have to come to terms with the fact that one day Scott would definitely sell the label, selling all of her rights away to her old songs that she wrote. And that's the thing I think that pisses me off the most about the situation, is it's not like most other pop artists that don't write their own shit. It's Taylor Swift who actually is the one thing that she's really known for is writing her own music. The fact that she writes her own music actually makes her so much of a more respectable artist, and it just is insane to see it backfire, because obviously it would just be so much less meaningful if it was songs that you hadn't written and spent days and months and even years maybe writing them. So I don't know, it just really sucks overall. Scooter Braun is somebody who Taylor claims has been an ass to her over the years, who has bullied her on social media. Scooter's clients have definitely done things to Taylor that have been horrible. For example, Kanye West, the famous music video, she actually spoke about this in the post, talking about how, he had these wax figures of all these celebrities made, and they were naked, which is so fucked that that's even possibly legal. I don't know, I would feel so uncomfortable. I know Taylor Swift for a fact felt so uncomfortable, but you're at a point where you can't really sue the person, because you can't, it's blurred lines almost, and it sucks because that should be suable in my opinion. I feel that's just so crazy that that even happened. And obviously Kanye West was one of Scooter Braun's biggest clients at the time, and so of course Scooter as a manager definitely had some say in the video and all that stuff. I think the thing that sucks the most is kind of what both Scooter and Scott Borchetta did with the whole thing, which is basically not tell Taylor that Scooter was buying the company until the day that it actually hit the news. Now Scott Borchetta claims that he did reach out to Taylor Swift and that personally, and lawyers and all that stuff, but essentially either way, with what they're both saying, is that Taylor definitely found out after the deal was already done, which is so beyond fucked up, because Taylor Swift basically talks about how Scott Borchetta knew for a fact that Taylor was not comfortable with Scooter Braun. She said in her post that anytime Scott has ever heard the word Scooter Braun come from her mouth, that she was either crying or trying not to. I just think it's so crazy how now this person who has publicly talked bad about her and who has clients who have publicly talked bad about her now owns like such a big part of her, like, which is all of her old music. Like I said, I was going to talk about how that actually can affect someone, and it really can. For example, now when, you know, a movie wants to use a song, so say a movie wants to use You Belong With Me as like their theme, a song of the fucking movie. Now that Taylor Swift isn't signed to the record label that owns the records, she has no say in whether or not this movie can use or can't use her music. The only person who has say is Scooter Braun. And that is so fucking scary, because your music could be used to promote something bad. Like, I'm not saying Scooter would ever like necessarily do that or would even consider, but like, say if there was like a fucking homophobic like video or movie or something was coming out that was like controversial and they wanted to use one of Taylor Swift's records, in theory Scooter could sign a paper and say, yeah, you can use like this song by Taylor Swift, and she would have absolutely no say in it whatsoever. And that's fucking scary. Like, that really is. Like, it could be a message that she, or a movie that she doesn't believe in, and your own song is like playing in it. It's kind of, I don't know, I really don't like that, and I think that it's so sketch. Taylor spoke about this and she said that she made peace with like the fact that Scott Borchetta was going to sell his record label one day, and that would include all of her tracks. But she said that she never in her like worst nightmares would think that he was gonna sell to Scooter Braun. What I think is the most fucked up about the situation in general is the fact that these 15-year-olds can sign contracts that essentially sign their lives away and all of their work away at such a young age. You can't even drive at 15, but you can sign all of the work that you have and all of the future work that you're going to have for the next however many years, and I think that that is fucking terrifying. The music industry has been known to be so corrupt around stuff like this with contracts. I don't think a minor like that should be able to even sign a contract. Like 16 is even like pushing it, but like 15, that's just like should be unheard of, honestly. The fact that Taylor Swift is actually someone who does and is known for writing her own music and is getting screwed over like this is kind of insane to me. There are a ton of things that I find scary about the music industry that we're going to talk about in this video, and the first one we're going to be talking about is how many things are fake about the music industry. Obviously, we assume that these feuds are fake, like sometimes to an extent. Like even Taylor Swift and Katy Perry, people thought was fake for years, and now that they're friends, people even speculate more that the whole thing was fake. That's one thing that doesn't have like that much actual evidence, but fucking Beyonce, Solange, and Jay-Z, that whole little elevator argument, completely fake from the mouth of Beyonce's father. And I didn't even fucking know this, which is crazy. Beyonce's husband, Jay-Z, and her sister, Solange, got into like some altercation in an elevator, and the footage was released to the public. Beyonce and Solange's father, Matthew Knowles, actually spoke out about this on Houston's Rula and Ryan radio show, where he basically claimed that the entire like altercation was fake, and he said, quote, "They needed something to ignite that tour. It's called a Jedi mind trick. A Jedi mind trick fools you a lot of times. All I know is everyone is talking about it. Ticket sales went up, and Solange's album sales went up 200%. It just really makes you wonder how many fucking celebrity feuds and different things about them are just completely fake. And it got me into researching just some of the things that I found are just so buck wild that I'm just genuinely confused. Artists like to create a fake persona, or not even like to, but sometimes are told by record labels to have a persona that matches their music. But there are some that have come out that are so fucking crazy. Like, obviously everyone's heard of like Lady Gaga or even Kesha, that are told to act a certain way. Gaga was actually told that she like wasn't pretty enough to just sit there and sing, or stand there and sing, that she had to come up with some crazy persona in order to sell records and go on tour, and obviously it did work. And same thing with Kesha. Kesha claims that her labels wanted her to act wild and carefree and just like crazy so that it would sell more records, and it did. Two that I found so fucking crazy that I literally just like read it and I couldn't believe it. Like, I was like, wait, what? Like, that's insane. And it is, first of all, Rick Ross. Rick Ross is a rapper that you guys probably know. In his music for years, he was basically telling a story of how he was a cocaine dealer and a huge drug dealer and like basically a drug lord. However, this story is completely false to the point where he was actually a correctional officer, and his story was essentially stolen from a real person named Rick Ross, who was a fucking cocaine dealer and like was arrested for all this shit. And it's just so wild. Like literally that's just buck wild to me. I can't believe it. Like I just was like, wait, what? I just think that's so weird because I guess depending on the type of music that you make, they want you to have a specific persona or specific niche to like help you sell. Like for example, like country guys, like country singers, they always want country singers to be like really homey and have a nice family and have like daughters that they write about, but like half of it's probably fake. Rappers, it makes them look better to be criminals. Like I don't know, it's just like kind of weird to, like it's like a backwards concept to me, but it does like kind of make sense because they want that like kind of bad boy like image for rappers, and Akon is one of them too, who shocked me. I just can't believe this either. But Akon, whose name is literally Akon, like a convict, which I also didn't know, which honestly didn't know that was the point of his name, like his stage name, which I think is so funny. But he's actually like not really convicted of anything. He's been in and out of jail a couple times for different reasons, but basically with his career, like always, he would always talk about the fact that he like basically ran a Grand Theft Auto ring, like often. Like he would refer to this ring in his like being like a ringleader in his music, which is so bizarre because he actually just wasn't. He was arrested for having a stolen vehicle, but he was arrested for like not stealing the vehicle, but like actually like just owning a stolen vehicle. It's so bizarre to me. Like it's so bizarre. He went to jail for 6 months and he's acting like he was like the ringleader of a fucking Grand Theft Auto like ring, which is just crazy. Like it's so crazy, but like it's a story that people want to hear when it comes to a rapper, and it's just like, it's crazy. It's so nuts. It just makes you think how much of the shit that people like pump out about their stories are fake. It's the same thing with Ariana Grande. I've talked about this so many times because so many people are like, oh man, she's changed so much like since she was Cat Valentine and stuff, but she has spoken about this. I don't know how publicly she's spoken about this, but I've definitely personally heard her say this, that she was basically told to act like Cat Valentine and like have a very bubbly bubblegum pop kind of persona at first when she was still connected with Nickelodeon and all that stuff, like before she broke out into just being a normal pop star. And you can see it with Put Your Hearts Up. Like she hated that song, she hated the music video, she hated her hair, she hated everything. She was still forced to do it like that because they thought that that would be what would sell. They thought that that would be geared towards children, which is just so crazy to even think about, because it's like how many different personas are actually like just completely fake of these people. The next thing that we're going to talk about is some of the scariest parts of the music industry, I think, which is overworking the artists to the fucking bone. These people get so overworked and it's actually insane. Obviously, it's become a pretty well-known conspiracy theory that K-pop artists specifically are super fucking overworked by their labels and their managements, and contracts that should never even fucking exist are signed, and basically they sign their lives away. It's crazy. At this point, it's honestly not even a conspiracy, more just actual facts. Henry Prince Mac was a member of JJCC, and he actually made a YouTube video and spoke out about this. I saw it because Shane Dawson a year ago also talked about some of these topics, which we're gonna get into in a second, about what Shane talked about. But I wanted to like even just more reiterate like the fact that this is like such a huge issue, and I don't know why no one's doing anything about it. It's kind of freaky. Henry Prince Mac made a YouTube video. It only has 1 million views, which honestly is insane because of the stuff that is said in this video is so wild. He talks about something in the K-pop industry called slave contracts. I don't know if this is actually like the official name of it, probably not, but it is basically what a lot of people in the industry call these contracts. These contracts last anywhere from 10 to 15 years that you're not allowed to be dating, you have to be on a strict diet, other harsh rules like possibly getting plastic surgery that you have to have done. You can't have any vacations or holidays or anything like that, which is just so insane. And not only that, but they are working 24/7 basically. Henry Prince Mac was talking about it, and he was saying that he would work from 6 a.m. to 1 a.m., which is fucking crazy. 7 days a week for 10 years, which is so wild. He was saying that he would get paid $0. Like, he would not get paid for working all of these hours. He was like $2 if you're lucky, which is so crazy, and I just don't understand how that's legal. K-pop stars are known to be worked to the actual fucking bone. You see these artists passing out on stage, all this stuff, and it's so sad and so scary. And not only that, but a lot of them talk about having really deep depression, of course, because it's not normal to work that crazily and that hard, and to not even be rewarded for it. And I think that's like the saddest thing about it, is like that, you know, a lot of pop artists are in it for the money and they tour for money, but these K-pop artists are barely getting paid. They just are genuinely doing it because they love it and they love like performing, and that makes me so much sadder. Like, that's so sad that they're not treating them correctly. Like, it's just heartbreaking. I've definitely heard much worse things about K-pop than I have heard with American pop artists. I think probably because legally, I think here it would be very hard for them to, like, record labels to work them that hard. It's not as grueling, but it definitely is really bad here too. Shane actually talked about it in his video, where he talked about how different artists like Camila Cabello and Lauren Haregi and Michael Jackson and Prince have specifically talked about how they felt like slaves. Like, they felt like this was labor that they were not getting rewarded for, and that it was just so grueling and terrible. I believe it. Like, even Prince went on stage with the word slave written on him. Michael Jackson held up a sign that's saying Sony kills music and all this stuff, and Sony's obviously one of the biggest record labels of all time. It owns so many other record labels. It owns all of the ones that I mentioned, Fifth Harmony, One Direction, but I don't think it's just Sony that is the problem. I think most record labels are very shit and work their clients to the bone, and literally like not getting enough payout from what they're doing, which is just, it's sad. It's fucking really sad. Liam Payne goes, I used to be in 1D, now I'm free. And a lot of people thought he was being shady towards the boys, but shit, he was probably being shady towards the fucking record label. And I just think that's so interesting and sad. I just think there's some definitely shady shit that goes on with record labels, with managements. I think that they're artists are pushed way too hard and work too hard. I think a lot of artists like are forced to put out music that they didn't want to put out. For example, I'm not saying that Ariana Grande was forced to put this song out. However, she has spoken out about this and clearly said that she did not want to put Ghostin' on the Thank You Next album, which makes complete sense because it is a very personal song. It's a very, I honestly can't believe it was on the album. I know that there was another song that was on the album originally but didn't make the album because it was too personal, so I don't know how much more personal you could get than Ghostin'. It really is. It's a beautiful song, like, don't get me wrong, it's probably one of my favorite Ariana Grande songs ever, but it does feel pretty weird to listen to be honest, because it's like so personal and you can just hear like the pain. And she actually spoke about this and said that Scooter Braun, of all people, was the one that forced her to put it on the record. She said that she wanted to take Ghostin' off the album, but Scooter said that she should definitely share this with the world. It's interesting because obviously Ariana does not claim, and I'm not saying that she claims, that Scooter forced her to do it, but obviously she was thinking about not doing it and Scooter was the one who told her to. So obviously that just looks kind of sketch and not that great, which I highly doubt like that he forced her to do it, because Ariana Grande is one of his biggest clients. Like, why would he want to like upset her, do anything to like jeopardize like the position that he's in? So I don't think that it's anything like that, but I do think that it's interesting to think like what are his intentions of putting out a song like this that is so like personal. Like, obviously someone who's a manager is just obviously always going to be thinking about money, and that just sucks because it's obviously such a sensitive topic that Ariana actually got a lot of backlash for even putting the song on the album. That's it for today's video. If you guys liked it, please give it a big thumbs up. Let me know in the comments any other music industry secrets or conspiracies that you guys have. I would love to read them. This stuff really interests me. But that's it. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram because I'm always posting really dope ass shit on there. Subscribe for new videos every week, and I will see you guys later. Bye!